Hello there, it's Susie Walker here from Psychologies magazine for our 1 p.m. broadcast to get us through the COVID time. And here I am joined with the wonderful Martin Pollecoff. Hello, Martin. Hello.
Hi, good to be here today.
Martin is a therapist, but also the chair of the UK Council for Psychotherapists in the UK, which is the governing body of therapy in the UK. So it's lovely to have you here. And today we're going to be talking about dreaming. Everyone has been saying, Martin, that they're having really, really weird dreams in this time of lockdown. Right. So why are we having so many weird dreams?
Because the world's changing so enormously and so fast. There's so much. What normal is gone. Well, now we've got a new normal. And dreams do that. They take on the ways in which we deal with our world. And that's what makes them so important in psychotherapy.
Yeah. So what are dreams? Tell me what a dream is.
Well, I can't really tell you what a dream is. I can tell you how we work with them, because I can't define what a dream is because so many definitions. But if I tell you how useful they are, for the most part in the West, we are intellectuals. We're taught to be clever, to be smart, to think things through, to divide things up, to label things. And when we do that, other sides of our personality, which are the instincts and the emotion, become secondary. Become often swept under the carpet because being clever is the best thing in our society. And those come up in dreams. They come up in dreams. Dreams take you in touch with your instinctual energies and your emotions. And that's why they're so disturbing sometimes, because we're not used to that. We almost pick a personality. We might say we're kind, nice people. And then we have a dream about violence or sexual stuff that we feel, oh my God, that's not who I am. But it's the other side of the coin saying, hey, we're here.
So can we interpret our dreams? I mean, can we? So let's say you've had a dream. What's the best way of interpreting it? Should we be interpreting our own dreams, or should we give them to somebody else to interpret it? So let's say you fall asleep and then you have a horrific dream. Then what do you do? How do you know what it means?
Okay. Well, you don't know what it means. If you interpret your own dreams, you're interpreting them through the same system that denies them. So you might have a very strong inner critic that's always on at you about you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. And that's the voice that interprets the dream. So it's much easier to work with somebody who's skilled with dreams because they're kinder. They allow the dreams in. Because you get so many people, I had this dream, I had sex with so-and-so, and I had 10 men on me, or whatever. And oh my God, this is awful. Not awful, it's a dream. Or I was attacked by these guys, and I didn't know what to do, or I shot somebody in a dream, I killed somebody. Yeah, it's a dream. We can talk about that because everybody has a side that is aggressive and violent and wants to live. The things, it's not just suppressing sex, it's suppressing that idea that you really want to live, that you want to succeed, and you will do anything to live. And those ideas come up through dreams. But when we're working together on a dream, we're talking about something that's intimate to you. And, say Freud, for instance, interpreted dreams. This means that, this means the other. Jung hung out with dreams. He tried to befriend them. He hung out with them. He'd say things like, well, why don't you model that in clay? Sing that, dance that. Let it digest for a few days. Work on it. Draw it out.
So you're making the unconscious conscious, aren't you? So whatever's bubbling along in our unconscious mind, it's sort of there. And then if we can capture it, and then, as you say, bring it out and then start playing with it to see what message it's got for us. Is that what we're trying to do? We're trying to interpret what is hidden from ourselves. Say it again.
We're trying to make friends with it. We're trying to befriend it. So for instance, you might have some terrible gangster in the dream.
Yeah.
And that's a part of you. What
Yeah.
would it be like, for instance, if you had somebody who was a real tough gangster, just a percentage, a tiny homeopathic dose of a real gangster within you? How would your life change?
Yeah.
What would you be able to do that you can't do now?
I always say that I definitely have an inner Godfather.
Right,
I
okay.
really
Well,
do. I always say that,
yeah,
I'm lovely and I'm kind and I'm sweet and I'm all of those things, but
yes.
there is an inner Godfather who, who will leave a horse's head in your bed if you're not careful, kind of thing. And I'm always like, I don't think that one is sort of under the ground. It's definitely there, but it's, those parts of ourselves that we really don't want to acknowledge. It's that, as you say, those parts of you that will, fight to survive. It's so interesting to kind of have a conversation with those places. But what happens if you can't remember your dreams?
Well, it's a skill. If you keep a dream diary by your bed, it doesn't have to be something complex. I use just some sheets of paper and a pencil, and I just scribble some notes down, because once you wake up, you remember the dream for a few seconds, and you go, oh God, I've got to speak to so-and-so today, and suddenly the dream's gone. They're fragile. They're like, the psyche is always considered to be like a butterfly. If you try and grab it, you kill it. So you've got this delicate thing, and you start writing just a few notes, and you'll remember it. But you need
Yeah.
to do that. And the really important thing is to do it over a period of time, so we can see the progression of your inner world over that time and see how it changes over time.
And I suppose it's like if there are, obviously why I think therapy is so useful is that you can't see what you can't see. So that something isn't working in your life. There's a misfire, and you're like, I just don't know. That's why I usually come back to therapy. I've been in therapy for most of my life, but but not all the time. But I come back to it when I have these behaviors that I'm thinking, I don't know what that's about. It's really weird, or getting upset about the same thing. I suppose dreaming is another way for it to sort of surface something. It's trying to get your attention, isn't it? Sort of saying,
Sure, absolutely.
this is,
But I think
and
they
then,
go together. If you're dreaming and you're able to bring these dreams to somebody who is not you and be able to talk them through, and they might give you an interpretation, but that's not necessarily the right one. It's just starting to pull at threads. Like you, I'm in and out of therapy for most of my life. And I do it when I feel like I want to talk to somebody about something. But there's no reason to go into therapy for 10 years at a time. You go in a little bit, you come out, you go back in again. Perhaps you might do 6 months, perhaps you might do a year, perhaps you might do 3 weeks. It doesn't matter. You're just using that to move you on.
for me, it's about growth. So we were talking to Katie Piper, who's
Yes.
the cover star, last week. And she went through a terribly traumatic time where she got acid thrown on her face and was raped. And she, so we were talking about therapy, and she just said, yes, well, obviously that's where I started talking about that and the trauma. But she says now I'm in therapy to talk about her, her career or something else, you know what I mean, or her parenting. And it's just about having that kind of unconditional space where you can talk about things and grow. And it's not that there's something wrong, but it's being able to, for me, it's putting a light on the things that you can't see. And that's why it's so useful for someone to say, have you thought about that? And you're like, oh, I never thought about like that. And that's it. So I think that's what dreams are like. Dreams can have the ability to shine a light on something that you are, repressing or suppressing in some way. And to be able to explore that, I think is so useful. But there's one way of I've heard of ages ago when I was looking at my own dreams, is like when you give every part of your dream a voice. So you kind of, the chair that you're sitting on, give it a voice. What is it that your chair's got to say? What's the baddie's got to say? What's the gorilla got to say? What's the whatever it is in your dream? Is that a good idea to try and kind of
take a lot of time? But I personally would work with the characters in the dream, the people, because in the dream you're in the dream. Normally you're in the dream, and you're also watching you in the dream. But what interests me is the different characters who are all part of you. And you can ask them stuff like why now? Why are they coming now? Because I sometimes dream of school friends or something. You think, what? I haven't thought about that person for 40, 50 years. You know, what's that about? What's he about? Also, dreams are massively cultural, really cultural, even family cultural. Huh?
What do you mean? What do you mean? In what way?
Well, the way we hold them and the way that they work. So, for instance, I've got a client who's Korean, South Korean, but, you know, she's very, very Western international school. You know, she has that American international school voice. She's very, very Western. She runs fashion stuff. But when her dreams, she said, oh, my father came to see me last night. Now he's been dead for 20 years. But he appeared in my dreams. Now to her, that is him coming to see her. And he wants something. And she said, I don't know what, you know, he just came to say hello. He doesn't normally do that. He wants to tell me stuff, etc. And sometimes we dream of people who've just died. We don't know they've died. We dream of people we haven't seen for some time, and we phone them up and they said, yes, something's going on. I wanted to speak to you. There seems to be a telepathic thing in dreams as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, what about this idea of, you know, this kind of collective unconscious that Jung talked about, you know, that is, as you say, telepathic, this idea of, I don't know, it's like I've got a friend at the moment whose mum's just died and she's having these huge dreams. I remember when my parents died, I used to dream that my parents would come and sit on the end of my bed and talk to me. I mean, it's dreaming? Is it just, what do we do with those dreams? Because they're so emotional.
We talk to our parents. In that case, we talk to them.
Yeah.
There was a really remarkable man called Anthony Sutich, who was Maslow's partner. But Sutich was disabled and had been since he was 14. He lay on a gurney. He couldn't move. He literally couldn't move. And he saw the world through a mirror on top of the gurney. And Sutich wrote and created the transpersonal or spiritual parts of therapy. Transpersonal therapy came out of Sutich's work.
Okay. Wow.
And he had never been to college or anything like this, but everybody held him in such high esteem. And he wanted, more than anything else, to get a doctorate. And he got a doctorate writing about his own work. He dictated everything, but writing about his own work on the transpersonal. On the night he got the doctorate, he had a party and he was just really happy. And Miles Vetch, who was one of his friends, was having a dream. They were sleeping that night, and Tony walked in. I said, Tony, you're walking. He said, yes, I'm dead. Okay. And he died that night.
Wow.
You know, and this is two very rational guys. I said, wow. And I've heard that a few times. I saw somebody, and then he was dead. He came to see me and said, I'll see you around. No, I don't know what that's about. I can't do it. But I've had clients who've had such lucid dreams that continue during the day. You know, they just go on and on. There's these fantastic fantasies they go into and then resolve something through, you know.
Do you think it's our psyche trying to resolve something? Do you think that what I do, they're not
always
just
heading to health? The mind is always heading towards health. Everything you see around you now, you don't have to go back. Everything in your life now is there to help you resolve stuff. It's simple. You're in the right place.
I love that.
You're always in the right place, and the mind is always heading towards health, even when it's ill. I mean, you've got to remember that psychopathology is not the problem. It's the answer to the problems, right? Somebody goes schizophrenic because it's too unbearable to live the life they led. It's too unbearable. And so they have two sides, one in which they are a patsy, an idiot, a fool, right, that people tease and mess around, and the other, they're massively powerful. They're Napoleon, they are Churchill, whatever it is, or they're wanted by the CIA, the FBI. I'm never wanted by those people, but for the schizophrenics, they're always very important. You know?
Yeah, I love that idea. I mean, I was talking to Julia Samuels a couple of weeks ago, and part of the UKCP, but also a very well-known therapist. And she was, the words that she talked about was, so what I was saying is sometimes I'm so afraid that my feelings will overwhelm me or destroy me. The voices, it can be so overwhelming sometimes. And she talked about our feelings as benign messengers. And it really, I love that idea. And it's what you're saying as well, is like whatever, sometimes the inner critic or the parts of us can seem so harsh, or the dreams. I mean, some of my dreams can be, about the apocalypse, basically. Everything is destroyed. But basically it's finding a way to heal. It's finding my way. I'm always lost in the apocalypse, I'm trying to find my way back. That's what my dreams mostly are about. But I think, as you say, it's about me trying to find a new way, trying to find a way through that,
It's the psyche trying to solve something. So even if you get depression or something, it's the psyche trying to head towards health. You only get depressed if things aren't working out for you.
Yeah.
It's to just say, hey, perhaps you should try something else, or perhaps you need something different.
Yeah.
It's perfect where you are right now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And that's, how I work. I don't, pathology doesn't bother me because I don't see it that way. I see it as the mind trying to resolve something or to save yourself. I mean, you said you think you could be overwhelmed. There's a protector voice inside you that stops that and has kept you safe forever, right? And you have to rely on that, saying, yeah, it's going to do that. And sometimes the protector says, no, you mustn't go there. The hypocrite, for instance, is a very early friend. It basically says, hey, your parents are going to beat the hell out of you if you do this. So I'm going to step in here and tell you off if you go anywhere near the limit which your parents are going to hurt you. Right? It's there to save you. It's not really a horrible thing, but it feels terrible. You've got to get used to it.
Yeah, or be able to interpret it. I mean, this is what we're kind of talking about, isn't it? It's about interpretation. We're interpreting our dreams, interpreting the messages from our brain, and so even, let's say people don't want to go to therapy, which is fair enough too. What about, keeping the journal? How should we keep a journal, a dream journal specifically? What's the best way of doing that?
With crayons. Because play is therapy. All play is therapy. If we can get off the importance of our dreams, and just make them like, wow, look at that's come out there. Jesus. Wow, who'd have thought of that? I could never have thought of that, awake.
Yeah.
Also, I used to work as a copywriter, and I could never come up with stuff until I'd slept on it. In my sleep, it would organize itself, and I'd know exactly what to do when I woke up. You actually, it does a lot of work is done in your dreams. A lot of work is done. Dickens used to say, I don't do anything. Dickens said, I just dream this stuff, and then I write it down in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not Dickens, but I was able to do my work in that way.
Yeah. I mean, again, the being able to dive into your unconscious. I mean, I'm a little bit wary of using the unconscious as a kind of way of being more productive. I hate that idea.
More productive. It is what it is, and if you shine the light of consciousness on it, it produces something in between. One of the things that Jung was very, very wary of the unconscious. Very wary, because he knew what you could get lost in this. He had a breakdown that lasted about, I think, 14 years.
Wow.
Really long time of not being able to work. But you get somebody like Joseph Campbell who says, just follow your bliss. Brilliant. Well, just be careful on that. Be careful on that. You can get swallowed by it.
Yeah. Although I love Joseph Campbell. He's one of my favorites. So.
Yeah, well, he was a sort of, he's not a Jungian. He did editing for Jung, but he's not a Jung. He had his own view, and Jung would be like, just hang on a second, that could be not great.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And
so
his wife died last week.
Joseph
Campbell's wife, who was the dancer, I can't remember her name. She died last week. So
I
it's
didn't know that.
not that far back in time, all these things. They're touchable.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So what we'd like to do at Psychologies, because we're really interested in this idea of dreams, is that we'd like to invite you to send your dreams. So send your dreams to me, and then we're going to put together an article of some description with Martin's help around dreams in the time of COVID. So we're going to do this online. So if you've got any dreams that you want to send to me, it's susie.walker@psychologies.co.uk. Send them to me, send them to the editor, and we'll patch them together. We'll talk to Martin about what they all mean and see if we can do our own little research lab on what do dreams mean in the times of COVID. But brilliant, Martin. Thank you so much for your time today. It's so interesting, and I don't often remember my dreams, so I'm going to keep a journal, and then we'll see what comes up. And I'm going to keep a crayon. I love the idea of having a crayon and making it about play.
Just sit on the floor and play with it. Model it in plasticine. That's what I do.
Plasticine. Okay, that's even better. I like that even better. It's less writing.
The smell of plasticine's great.
Yeah, brilliant. Martin, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom today. That was really good.
Thanks a lot.
Lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.